Hello guys, welcome back to the Stretford Paddock for our review of Manchester United's game, pre-season tour game against Leeds United, where Manchester United were victorious by 4-0. A lot to talk about in the game as well. We're going to run through it now from start to finish. First of all, I'm going to ask you lads, overall thoughts on the game?
Yes. Oh, it was a very good performance, very good overall. We obviously 4-0.
Yeah.
That's a quality performance all round. I mean, like we did say during the match that 2-0 is probably a bit flattering. We were under pressure a lot, especially in the first half.
Sure.
But it's showing a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that first half was much more entertaining than pretty much that whole Perth game last Saturday. And the big takeaways for me are, on the counter-attack, United looking very threatening. Daniel James offering a lot right now behind the back. But Greenwood getting his first goal, an assist from Wan-Bissaka. You love to see it. Pogba linking up pretty well with everyone. I mean, we're able to see a lot of improvement. But then we went to the second half, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And that's where some of the bigger problems seem to loom more, where it was defensive and, Smalling and Jones started in the second half. And you can just tell that defensively we're still going to struggle. What about you?
Yeah, I think attacking-wise, the signs were there that it is positive. Dan James does add that extra bit of pace to the attack, so it's not always reliant on the Rashfords of the squad. But yeah, I feel like the first half was a lot better than the second half. I felt defensively we're very, very suspect still. You got like Marcus Rojo, because the Leeds did come down our left side a lot. Whenever they come down Rojo's side, more often than not, the ball was in the box and it was dangerous. But if it was on Wan-Bissaka's side, he was stopping it.
Sure.
So it's good to see, on one side you got Wan-Bissaka who's, stopping everything that's coming, but defensively, on the other side, it's not quite there, and then the second half started, and then, Jones scored, but, Jones and Smalling, they're still Jones and Smalling at the end of the day. Dalot was very, very quiet, which, it was bad, really, because he didn't really get forward enough, and defensively he was getting caught out a little bit. Young was young. But other than that, I think it was an okay performance.
I think what a takeaway for me was in the first 20 minutes we had 72% of possession and scored twice in the opening 20 minutes. I think to take away from that, from where we were last season, where we were, I think it's fair to say, extremely slow starters.
Yeah.
Taking away from that, constantly pressing. Pressing was the big thing we took away from today. We were all talking about it in the stream. Another thing as well, excuse me, the McTominay and the Pogba combination in midfield is not something perhaps we would have thought about before. McTominay as well, going on to what our next point was the academy lads for us. Brilliant. Is the big takeaway point. Every goal we've scored so far, 6 goals on the preseason tour, an academy player has either scored or assisted it. Obviously today 2 academy lads scoring, right. Greenwood and Rashford. Mason Greenwood obviously was a big talking point for us in the first half. I mean, what do you lads think? We were talking about him coming in on the right, him dragging defenders the way James and him kind of complementing each other. I felt he was pretty good.
Sure. What? I was just going to say that in the first game against Perth, Greenwood in that second half, he showed a lot of promise. He was unlucky to get a goal. And when we were doing our preview for the game earlier today, I said I expect Greenwood to be on the score sheet because of what I've seen previously. He seemed very, very fluid in the attack alongside Rashford, alongside Daniel James, because that front three, they were all meshing at one point. Rashford sometimes dribbling out to the left and James going to the centre, and then sometimes Greenwood would just be in the middle and Rashford would be on the left or right, Dan James on either side. But Greenwood, for me, besides Wan-Bissaka, standout performance in that first half. He has that goal-scoring instinct, I think, in him, and he was unlucky not to get more than one today.
I mean, we talked in the preview about that link up between Wan-Bissaka and Greenwood, and it seems to be that everyone's been saying, is Wan-Bissaka a good offensive right back? And I feel like maybe a bit early to be like fully forward and say, yeah, there's completely no doubts. But when Greenwood was tucking in and acting as a second striker, Wan-Bissaka was pushing down the wing. He looked confident. He didn't look like he was fazed by people coming onto him. There was a piece of skill in the first half where he flicked it over the defender and ran round. That was a beautiful piece of skill, I've got to admit. But it seemed like that link up on the right hand side looked very fluid and very confident, and we didn't see incredible amounts of it. I mean, we saw it go down the left a lot more, but when it paid off, especially with the goal, it was some great play, I thought.
I think in the first 20 minutes of the first half, we had 72% of the ball, and that was when we was at our best with the attacking players. Greenwood was, getting in behind. Wan-Bissaka had that courage and confidence that McTominay was clearing up, and Pogba as well. Pogba was tracking back a lot and doing a lot of the dirty work. So I think going forward, if you want to maintain that level, you need to keep control of the game for longer, and I think that's what Ollie needs to get into McTominay. He needs to get into Pogba. If we want to persist and do well this season, that 20-minute period has to stretch to at least a good 60, 70 minutes.
I think another player that impressed me today, going on the academy graduate perspective, is Angel Gomez when he came on. A lot of talk we were saying on the live stream as well. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out if you want a good recap of the game. We were talking, would he head out on loan this season, where he's going to fit in? I thought him and Chong as well on the left, and we were saying Chong, I even said on the run up to it, I said maybe he's not good enough to make the cut at United, but I thought he was absolutely sensational today. Gomez especially, physical for a guy his size as well, for such a diminutive lad. He really
build at play. I think Chong's really getting used to being a part of that fluidity and the high tempo, and Lingard didn't do himself justice today, I don't think. So I think you have to look at that second half as these players are who we're going to implement into the first team, who we're going to into the lineup, and who really are the weak links. Now, Jones got a goal today, and I think it's arguable that we really should have had at least one or two put past us today. Very lucky. Romero in the first half stepped up. But I don't know how you guys feel. For me, it's clear that that second half is where we're able to pinpoint players who shouldn't be on the squad, players who should be pushed out a little bit.
See, I feel like it's slightly hard to do that sort of thing. I feel like, they're not the players you would think would start, but when you've been put into a match on the 45th minute, you've completely changed the team. They haven't started, and then you've got a Leeds team who've been playing together. And we saw as the half went on and it went past the 60th minute, that team that we put out for the second half seemed to be a bit more cohesive, a bit more better going forward, and the goals came and sort of thing. But the fact is that they had a team that had the tempo of the game, knew what they needed to do, and we were putting up a completely new side. So I feel like you need to take the sort of pinch of salt until it's probably later in pre-season where we're seeing players playing 60 minutes and seeing the side. That's when we're going to know whether the style is working and whether the message that Ollie's trying to get across is working with the team.
I do think defensively, that there was definitely a lot. I think it showed definitely today why we need a new centre back. I think Bailly and was it Lindelof who started the game? Lindelof and Bailly started the game. Bailly went down with a little bit of an injury, but I thought they were excellent in the first half. Lindelof going forward, but I think there were moments, a bit of mishaps here and there, but then Jones and Smalling, especially in the centre, looked so uncomfortable on the ball. Even against a team like Leeds, they just really didn't look like, even off the pace. And just adding to what we've all thought that they really shouldn't. They should be the 3 or 4 seasons outstayed their welcome at the club. And then obviously the Maguire speculation we were talking about a lot on stream. Whether 80 million, is it too much? Is it too little? I think it may have proved today that 80 million we may need to splash out on, because I don't know, going into Chelsea in that opening game, kind of attack they have spearheaded.
I don't think there's any shame in getting the Maguire, even if it does cost you £80 million, because at the end of the day, he's an upgrade. There's talk about like Ruben Diaz, there's Koulibaly whose names get thrown about, but with Maguire, there's no risk that he'll come into this side because he knows the league. He is a proven centre back. He's done it for England. He's done it for United. He scores goals from corners. He's a good defender. He brings it out from the back. I could go on and on and on about the reasons why I like Maguire. And I think that is one of the key. If we stick him next to Lindelof, that's 2 different passing options straight out from the back right there already.
I think we can all agree. We've said this a couple of times today, but I'll reiterate it now. If Maguire walked into that team today, he's by far the best defender on that team. And he improves it. Now, 80 million, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for anybody. But you look at who's available. You look at ball-playing defenders, because he can't play with the ball at his feet. And who is available? He's probably one of the only great players available besides De Ligt. Now that he's gone to Juventus, he's off the table. So I want to see him line up against Lindelof. I think Bailly's too injury-prone at the moment. We're able to see in that first half, there was times when he went down a little bit too easy. Now, that might have just been because that's part of the game for him. But there is that issue that Bailly isn't ready to start yet. And also, we have Tuanzebe on the bench who he didn't get any game time today. I'm not going to say that's necessarily his own fault. There's a lot of players in that squad. But I think right now is the perfect time to show, look, we're missing this one thing. And for me, personally, that's Harry Maguire.
Well, I feel like when you start talking about Maguire, the price, I think I said it on stream, and I'll reiterate it now for people who hadn't heard. All the defender prices we're getting quoted are 50 to 60.
Sure.
And to pay 20 million extra to make sure that the player is Premier League proven, like Ruben Diaz is probably undoubtedly a very good centre back, but the fact is we saw with Lindelof, who is probably the same sort of player. Took him a while to get used to the league, and if we're paying 20 million extra just to make sure that Maguire, we know what he plays like, we know what he works, we know that he's the player that we want. 80 million compared to 50 or 60 is nothing, really.
You look at like the Virgil van Dijk effect, don't you? Because he was 75 million. They got similar stats back then when he was at Southampton. I just think that go for it. Why bother going? What if? Oh, City pulled out for him. Oh, is he good enough? Just go for it.
Yeah, but I think Wan-Bissaka for me today is. We were discussing our man of the matches beforehand, but Wan-Bissaka is the biggest takeaway for me today. Silencing a lot of the people saying, he's not. Maybe, and I've said it as well. I've said it on a few podcasts before. I don't think he only got, I think, like 2 or 3 assists last season. Sure. I think maybe we're looking at it at context to what players like Andy Robertson and Alexander-Arnold were doing assist-wise. But he proved today he is capable of getting forward. I felt like you referred to Casey, that piece of skill he did. He is technically like just a good footballer, isn't he? I just love the fact that the overlapping in the assist agreement, I think, was the perfect start we could have asked. And we were saying as well, 80 million for Harry Maguire. Maybe we should give maybe a bit of credit to the club for getting Wan-Bissaka for only 45 million at 21. I mean, when you consider Newcastle slapped 50 million on Longstaff, I felt Wan-Bissaka is for every, there might have been a few doubts to step up from Palace. It's a lot more pressure to come to a club like United. But I think he just looked absolutely, obviously only pre-season, but I think he hasn't put a step wrong since he's been in the club.
No, I'm sorry, you go first.
Palace could have played hardball quite easily because he is like one of the best young, he's an English fullback. He's really young, one of the best in the league. You know what I mean? You look at like the other fullbacks in the league.
Statistically, I think he was the best right back in the league.
He's up there. Do you know what I mean? 45 million in today's market. It's an absolute steal.
I mean, he was my man of the match, Percy, but who are you last thinking?
I was going to say Wan-Bissaka, I think, he was probably man of the match overall. But someone I'm really just looking forward to seeing more and more of is, now I'm not saying he was the best player in the half, but Scott McTominay. Now, if you look up to the build-up to Rashford's second goal, he got the assist, but what's more impressive is that he was able to decide when the right time was to play the ball to Rashford. He didn't rush it out of his feet, composed himself going forward, and now I don't know if McTominay is the future necessarily, but when you're looking at bringing in a CDM, someone that... Longstaff, who we're getting quoted for 50 plus million for, that might be a good option for the future if Longstaff is proven. But McTominay, especially when you see what Matic did in that second half, really shows what we're missing somewhat of a physical player who is also as athletic, keeps the ball at his feet, and really knows what to do with the ball when it is at his feet. Casey, who's your man of the match?
Well, I'm going to go for one each half. I feel like because obviously we changed the team, we need to. I think Wan-Bissaka was very good. Again, I'm going to give plaudits to him, but I think my man of match of the first half was Marcus Rashford. I thought like he did the target man job very well. He brought it in, he controlled it, he brought other people to play very well, but then he also made great runs, and obviously the goal he scored was exceptional, beating the man, and the sort of composure which he's missed in the past. The thing that I always said about Rashford was if you gave him a second to think about taking a shot, he'd usually miss it because he was instinctive finishing, but he wasn't. When he was given the chance to think about it, he was missing it, or he was overthinking it, and he hit the goalkeeper or something. There, he stopped, took a second, and he slotted it to the side of Casilla. And I thought that was a great show of the steps Marcus Rashford has taken. And then my second half player, I'd say Andreas Pereira. I thought Andreas Pereira came on and he did a lot of work in midfield. He played defensively, he played going forward, he took the ball. Did set pieces very well. The ball he put in for Jones's head, it was a brilliant ball. And I thought overall he proved that he can work and be a functional piece of United's midfield.
I mean, I think there's a lot to take away from today. I think what we worked out today is that the pressing game is what is going to get us far next season. I think playing that high line, defenders pushing up and being able to distribute into the midfield. We saw how Lindelof was coming forward as well, bringing the ball forward and getting it into that midfield and being able to spread out like that. I mean, bigger tests are going to come. I mean, on Saturday we're playing Inter Milan. It's a good, and we will be live for that watch along as well, doing the same format. We're doing a preview watch along and then a post match review as we are doing now. we will be doing one for the rest of the preseason and hopefully season onwards. So Saturday the 20th at about, I believe it's the same time, about 12 o'clock, is it?
Yes.
About 12 o'clock time. Unless there's anything you lads would like to add about today.
I mean, I was gonna throw a bit of maybe a controversial comment, and I think my comments my thinking, but what do you think of Martial at number 9? Because I feel like this is an experiment that's run its course now, and I feel like he needs to be pushed back out to the wing. I feel like he doesn't have the tempo to play in all his game. No. I feel like he doesn't like the ball being played into the channels and running onto it. I feel like in this Ole Gunnar Solskjaer system, he's not going to thrive at number 9. Yeah. And I feel like this is the sort of test. And I feel like we may go a bit further in pre-season trying to test it out, but I don't think it's going to work.
I think we will see Ollie chop and change his front 3 or front 4 or whatever as the season goes on. But like I said, we'll wait to see. That's all from us today, guys. Make sure to drop by on Saturday. We will be covering the Inter Milan game, the Spurs game on the 25th, and the Milan game on the 3rd of August as well. You can watch along on MUTV, but we will be here all the time. Daily content. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop recommendations for our next top 5 we may be doing down below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.